Have you ever felt like you're doing everything right, and yet nothing changes? Like the universe has gone silent, even though you've shown up with faith, devotion, and effort? Maybe you visualize every day. Maybe you repeat affirmations with a tight chest, hoping to believe. Maybe in the quiet moments you've wondered why it works for others, but not for you. What I'm about to share with you will change everything you think you know about manifestation. Because there's a mistake, one single mistake, that 99% of people make without even knowing it. And this mistake is so subtle, so hidden, that even the most dedicated spiritual seekers fall into this trap every single day. But here's what shocked me the most. This isn't just any mistake. This is the mistake that Dr. Joe Dispenza discovered after analyzing thousands of brain scans of people trying to manifest. This is the error that explains why some people can visualize for years and get nothing, while others seem to effortlessly create their reality. And the crazy part? Once you understand this mistake, once you really see it for what it is, you'll realize you've been doing manifestation backwards this entire time. You've been planting seeds in soil that could never grow anything. You've been speaking a language the universe doesn't understand. But I need to warn you about something first. What I'm going to reveal isn't comfortable. It's going to challenge everything you've been taught about manifestation. It's going to make you question techniques you've trusted for years. And for some of you, it might even feel a little devastating at first. But stay with me, because on the other side of this uncomfortable truth is the key to everything you've been seeking. The key to becoming someone who doesn't just hope for their desires, but who naturally, effortlessly becomes them. So take a deep breath now. What you're about to discover will either change your life forever, or you'll close this video and keep struggling with the same patterns for years to come. The choice is yours. There's something Dr. Joe Dispenza discovered in his lab that most people will never hear about. Something that explains why your manifestations feel like you're pushing a boulder uphill. And it all starts with a mistake so basic, so fundamental, that it's hiding in plain sight. But before I reveal what that mistake is, let me ask you something. When you visualize your dream life, how do you feel in your body afterward? Excited? Hopeful? Or do you feel a subtle heaviness? A sense of reaching for something that feels just out of grasp? That feeling you just thought of? That's your first clue. Because here's what nobody tells you about spiritual manifestation. There's a kind of urgency that looks like faith, but is really anxiety in disguise. A craving so intense to manifest something that we completely forget the foundation of all true creation lies in our energy field and consciousness. Picture this moment. You wake up tomorrow morning and decide, today is the day. Today, you're going to manifest that breakthrough. You sit down, close your eyes, and begin to visualize. The images are crystal clear. The desire feels real. You can almost touch it. But something's missing. Something crucial that I'm going to reveal in just a moment. But first, you need to understand what happened in Dr. Dispenza's lab when they hooked people up to brain monitoring equipment during visualization. What they discovered will shock you. They found that most people's brains showed patterns of lack and desperation, even while they were visualizing abundance. Their conscious mind was creating one reality, but their subconscious mind was broadcasting the opposite. It was like trying to tune into a radio station, while their static drowning out the signal from their deeper consciousness. And here's the kicker. The quantum field doesn't respond to what you're thinking about. It responds to what you're feeling into existence. It responds to your vibrational signature, your energy frequency, not your mental images. This is where most people live, in the space between wanting and being, between hoping and embodying. Your heart isn't fully there. Your body doesn't believe what your mind is creating. You're essentially asking the universe for rain while holding a closed umbrella. But wait, it gets worse. Because what I just shared with you isn't even the main mistake yet. That was just the setup. The real error, the one that's sabotaging everything, is so much more subtle than this. And here's what's really going to blow your mind. You might think you're feeling it. You might even get emotional during your visualizations. You might cry, feel excited, feel grateful, but there's a world of difference between what you think is embodiment and what actually creates reality. Most people approach their desired emotions like tourists. They visit for a few moments, take some pictures, and then return home to their familiar emotional state. They become temporary visitors to the frequency they want to live in. Think about it this way. When you imagine having what you want, how long do you actually stay in that feeling? 30 seconds? 2 minutes? And then what happens? Your mind starts calculating how it could happen, or it begins to doubt if it's possible, or it jumps to the next thing on your to-do list. You've just visited the state of having what you desire, but you haven't moved there. And your nervous system? It's incredibly intelligent. It can tell the difference between a temporary emotional experience and a genuine state change. But here's where it gets really interesting, and this is something that's going to make everything click for you. There's actually a scientific reason why this tourist approach fails, and it has everything to do with something called neuroplasticity and how your consciousness actually rewires itself through spiritual practice. Dr. Dispenza's research shows us that your brain only rewires itself through consistent repetition. Your neurons need to fire together repeatedly to wire together. One meditation session, no matter how powerful, won't rewire decades of emotional conditioning stored in your subconscious patterns. But here's what most people don't realize. It's not just about repetition. It's about the quality of that repetition. And this brings us closer to the main mistake I'm going to reveal. Because even when people start meditating daily, even when they commit to feeling their desires consistently, something else happens. Something that can feel absolutely devastating, self-sabotage. Not the obvious kind, not the dramatic self-destruction, but the subtle kind, the kind that whispers just loud enough to pull you back into the familiar. And this is where the plot thickens. There's a part of you that deeply wants the new reality, and another part that quietly resists it. Not consciously, but vibrationally. This resistance doesn't come from your thinking mind. It comes from somewhere much deeper, somewhere in your subconscious programming that most people never think to look. Your current identity was formed through years of experiences, beliefs, and emotional patterns stored in your energy field. Some of these patterns served you once. They protected you. They helped you survive. But now, they might be the very thing standing between you and what you're trying to create through spiritual manifestation. It's like your emotional system has an internal security guard that only lets in what matches your current self-image. And here's the shocking part. This security guard is so sophisticated, it can reject your manifestations even when you're doing everything right. But I still haven't told you the main mistake yet. Because there's something even more foundational that's happening. Something so basic, so core to how reality works, that once you understand it, you'll see why nothing has been working the way you expected. And it has to do with how you're relating to your present moment right now. How you feel about what's in your life today. Because here's what Dr. Dispenza discovered that changes everything. The quantum field doesn't just respond to your future visions. It responds to how you're holding your present moment. When you look at your life today, what do you truly see? Presence or absence? Wholeness or missing pieces? This isn't just a philosophical question, it's a vibrational one. Because how you emotionally relate to what's here now directly influences what can show up tomorrow. Most people, without realizing it, are constantly confirming lack in their current experience. They look around and focus on what's missing, what's broken, what needs to be fixed. And every time they do this, they're sending a signal to the field, I am someone who lacks. The field, always loyal to your vibration, simply says, understood. More of that coming right up. This creates what we could call the mirror maze effect. Your current feelings about your reality get reflected back to you, which confirms those feelings, which gets reflected back again. Round and round it goes. But here's where it gets really twisted, and this is going to reveal the mistake that's been sabotaging you. You think you're just observing your life objectively, but you're actually amplifying your emotional response to it, often unconsciously. And this brings us to something that's going to completely change how you approach manifestation, because there's a difference between imagining your desired reality and actually embodying it. And this difference is everything. You've probably experienced this. You can picture your ideal life in perfect detail. You can see yourself living it, feeling it, being it. The visualization is clear, the emotions are present, the experience feels real, but somehow, when you open your eyes, it still feels like something separate from you. This gap between visualization and embodiment is where most manifestation practices get stuck. Because the quantum field doesn't respond to what you can imagine. It responds to what you can embody through your entire energy system. It responds to who you're being in your consciousness, not what you're picturing in your mind. But even this isn't the core mistake I promised to reveal. We're getting close, but there's something even more fundamental happening in your spiritual development. Something that explains why even people who think they're embodying their desires still struggle with consistent manifestation, and it has to do with a secret language that most people don't know exists. A language that the quantum field speaks fluently, but that humans have almost forgotten how to use. You might be saying, "I am abundant," but inside, every cell is whispering the opposite. You might be declaring, "I am loved," but your heart is still echoing with old rejection. This misalignment between your words and your frequency is like trying to tune into a radio station while there's static in the background. The field doesn't judge your words or your intentions. It simply reflects your most consistent vibration. If you spend 5 minutes affirming abundance but 23 hours and 55 minutes feeling lack, which signal do you think is stronger? But here's what's really going to shock you. Sometimes the feelings you're trying to align with aren't even yours. Sometimes you're carrying emotional frequencies that were passed down to you, and this is where the mistake gets really insidious. There's an invisible inheritance we all carry. Energetic patterns, emotional codes, beliefs passed down from those who came before us. You might feel a fear of scarcity that doesn't match your life experience. You might carry a sense of unworthiness that has no logical foundation. Modern neuroscience is confirming what indigenous spiritual traditions have always known. Trauma and emotional patterns can be passed down through generations. Not just through behavior, but actually encoded in your nervous system, affecting your consciousness and energy field at the deepest level. This means that when you're trying to manifest from a place of alignment, you might actually be manifesting from inherited frequencies that have nothing to do with your current reality or desires. It's like trying to create a new song while old music is playing in the background of your subconscious mind. But we're still not at the core mistake yet. Because there's something even deeper happening. Something that turns manifestation into its opposite without you even realizing it. Sometimes desire doesn't come from expansion, it comes from avoidance. Sometimes we want to manifest something not because it calls to our soul, but because we're trying to escape from what we're currently feeling. It's like wrapping yourself in a beautiful vision of the future, hoping it will make the discomfort of now disappear. On the surface, you're focused on love, abundance, success, healing, but underneath you're really trying to run from sadness, fear, emptiness, or pain. And here's what the quantum field picks up. It doesn't just hear what you want, it feels why you want it. When your manifestation practice becomes a sophisticated form of avoidance, you create a vibrational contradiction. Part of you is reaching towards something beautiful, while another part is pushing away from something painful. The field gets confused by this mixed signal. It's like stepping on the gas and the brake at the same time. And now we're finally getting to the core of everything, the mistake that ties all of these other mistakes together. The error that Dr. Joe Dispenza discovered is the root cause of manifestation failure. Are you ready for this? Because once you hear it, you can't unhear it. Once you see it, you'll realize it's been operating in your life every single day. The mistake is this. Most people are trying to feel their way into their desired reality instead of feeling their way into being the person who naturally has that reality. Let me say that again, because this is everything. You're trying to feel wealthy instead of feeling like someone who is naturally comfortable with wealth. You're trying to feel loved instead of feeling like someone who knows they're lovable. You're trying to feel successful instead of feeling like someone who naturally creates value in the world. Do you see the difference? One is reaching for something outside of yourself. The other is remembering something that's already within you. This is what Neville Goddard meant when he said, "Feeling is the secret." But he wasn't talking about emotional highs or temporary states of excitement. He was pointing to something much more subtle and powerful. The quiet, consistent, embodied feeling of being someone who naturally has what you've been asking for. Think about someone you know who seems to effortlessly attract money. How do they feel about money in their ordinary moments? They're not constantly excited about it or grateful for it or visualizing more of it. They just feel normal about having it. It's not a big deal to them. It's just natural. That's the frequency you need to find. Not the frequency of wanting wealth, but the frequency of being someone for whom wealth is normal. Not the frequency of desiring love, but the frequency of being someone who naturally gives and receives love. The quantum field is incredibly sensitive to authenticity. It can tell the difference between someone who's trying to feel wealthy and someone who simply feels comfortable with abundance. The difference isn't in the intensity of the emotion, it's in the authenticity of the embodiment. And here's the beautiful part: when you find this authentic frequency, when you genuinely feel like the person who naturally has what you desire, manifestation stops being work. It stops being effortful. It becomes as natural as breathing. Because you're not trying to get something anymore, you're simply being someone. And being is the most powerful creative force in the universe. This is the architecture of manifestation. Feeling becomes being. Being becomes frequency. Frequency becomes reality. But it's not a linear process. It's circular. Your reality also influences your feeling, which is why it's so important to find something in your current experience that you can genuinely appreciate. When you can feel authentic gratitude for what is, while simultaneously embodying the frequency of what's coming, you create a coherent vibrational signal. No internal conflict. No mixed messages, just pure, clear communication with the quantum field through your expanded consciousness. And here's something that's going to surprise you. The more you practice this authentic embodiment through spiritual development, the more you realize you're not actually creating anything new. You're remembering, you're uncovering, you're revealing what was always true about your energy and your deeper self. Because the truth is, you've never been separate from what you desire. You've never been lacking or broken or unworthy. You've simply been practicing patterns of thought and feeling that didn't match your deepest truth. The universe isn't withholding anything from you. You are the universe expressing through the unique filter of your consciousness. And as you align with that truth, not just intellectually but vibrationally, everything changes. Not because you've gotten something you didn't have, but because you've remembered something you never lost. So how do you actually make this shift? How do you move from trying to manifest to being a natural manifester? How do you go from reaching for your desires to embodying them? The answer is simpler than you might think, yet it requires something that many people struggle with: patience with the process. Because transformation isn't an event, it's a practice. Start where you are, not where you think you should be, not where you wish you were, but exactly where you are right now. Look at your current life and find one thing, just one thing, that you can feel genuinely grateful for. That authentic appreciation is your starting point. It's the seed of the new vibrational pattern you're growing. From that place of genuine gratitude, you can begin to imagine not as escape but as expansion. And here's the key: do this not once but consistently. Make it a practice, not a performance. Let it become a way of being, not just a technique you use. Every moment is a choice point. Every breath is an opportunity to align a little more deeply. Every day is a chance to embody a little more fully. And gradually, what once felt like pretending becomes feeling. What once felt like reaching becomes being. What once felt impossible becomes inevitable. This is the path of conscious creation, not forcing the universe to give you what you want, but aligning so completely with what you desire that you become the very thing you've been asking for. And when that happens, the manifestation isn't separate from you, it's an extension of you. It's not something you achieve, it's something you reveal. You are not broken, you are not lacking. You are not separate from your desires. You are simply learning to feel the truth of who you are. And as that feeling becomes your foundation, your reality has no choice but to reflect it back to you. This is the real secret behind quantum manifestation. Not technique, but truth. Not doing, but being. Not getting, but becoming. Take a breath. Feel into this moment and remember, everything you've been seeking is already seeking you. The only question is whether you're willing to become the person who can receive it. And something tells me you are. Something tells me that's exactly why you're here. You made it here for a reason. Something in you knows it's time to stop chasing and start dwelling. Dwelling in being, dwelling in vibration, dwelling in the now. Because true manifestation doesn't begin with asking, it begins with a state. And when that state is born from presence, aligned across mind, body, and soul, then manifestation is no longer effort. It's reflection. If something in this message stirred something in you, if something clicked, resonated, awakened, let it be the beginning of something new. Let it be the moment you stopped trying to get somewhere else and started becoming who you really are. Everything starts within. Everything begins with you, and you too are exactly where you're meant to be.